So one of the other things I wanted to hit on about Haunt, right? We've had a lot of people
Don't watch Haunt, by the way. Haunt is a great movie, but we're Haunt season.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I keep saying Haunt because it's in a haunted attraction. Haunt season. Yeah, fuck Haunt. No, I'm just kidding.
I love that movie. That's a good movie.
I love that movie too. Welcome to the show, everybody. Our friends, Jake Jarvi and Tommy Martin. Welcome, guys, to the show. They have a new movie out that you should definitely go right now. Pause the show. Run and pay for Haunt Season, VOD. Or if they have Blu-rays, they'll tell us in a moment. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves, your part in the movie-making process to get us started here?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, first of all. I am Jake Jarvi. I wrote and directed Haunt Season.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Tommy Martin. I play Walt, and I was also Jake's assistant director in Haunt Season.
Amazing, yeah. Is there anywhere that the people can find this in a physical copy, or is this VOD right now?
Right now, we're VOD only.
Okay.
We are still waiting to find out if we do get a physical. It kind of depends on how the VOD rollout goes, and I got my fingers crossed. I made a whole bunch of special features for it, so
it's such a lost treasure that we just don't have anymore. I used to spend so much time just watching special features on
I still
disc,
do,
and I miss it. I miss it.
Yeah, and like when the iTunes, when you find an iTunes one that still has the like extras on it, you're like, I'm gonna go iTunes over any other place because they still have. They've got a commentary. They've got at least 2 featurettes. Like
That's right.
I also investigated if we could get that on, but it was like a different thing that our distribution company had never done before. So I'm still really want that physical. I've got a whole rack full of physical over here, and I'd like to add us to it.
Well, we will be sending tens of people from our audience to go hound them for this physical copy.
Yeah, buddy.
For sure.
Yeah,
so brace yourselves, distributors. So here's the setup, right? You guys made a movie called Haunt Season. Haunt Season takes place in an extreme horror haunted house attraction, right? We meet a young actress who comes and joins the crew. We go through the kind of machinations of what that entails to run and operate. We get a behind-the-scenes look at a haunt, right? An extreme haunt that then goes awry. So if you guys just want to start, how did this idea crop up? I know as writers, sometimes you have like 50 ideas and you're like, one of these will be the one. Which one do I pick? What drew you to pursuing Haunt? Why was this the one you chose?
Haunt Season came about because, we were talking about it a little bit before you started recording, but 100% because of the locations, okay? My full-time job is I shoot and edit for a YouTuber named Rob Scallon. He's a music YouTuber out of Chicago, and we were looking for a gnarly place to shoot some music videos. He does he does this less often now, but he did like metal covers on unusual instruments like banjo, things like that.
Nice.
And he was looking for like a messed up lab to turn into a monster into. And he was like, I shot this one guy, Steve. I know he has a haunted house. I'm going to call him. So
when the universe just drops a gift right in your lap.
Yeah. He put me in touch with Steve. And then we shot the video that day, and it was really fun. His place is so awesome. I mean, as you saw in the movie, it's incredible. He builds it up and changes it every year. He's been running it for 22 years. And he was like, at the end of the shoot, he had been running a fogger for us all day. At the end of the shoot, he was like, yeah, we started talking about the 2000s remake of 13 Ghosts and how much we loved gnarly creatures and fun makeup and stuff. And he was like, you do a lot of this stuff? You ever do like fiction stuff? And I was like, yeah, we did a web series. We did the whole thing, And he was like, let's do a horror movie. I was like, okay. and so I just wrote a horror movie for his place, and he also had the escape room. So he owns and operates.
So he has the haunt and the escape
rooms.
Is it actually a bowling alley putt-putt as well?
Yeah, buddy. So everything dropped fully formed into my lap, and I was like, okay, we could just make it the haunt, but the fact that it was attached to a family fun center bowling alley mini golf course was too good to pass up. And it was like, we need to and the idea of everyone, all of the people in the behind the scenes of the haunt, they kind of want to be involved in entertainment. Like Matilda, our lead, she's a theater kid. She like came out of theater school and everything. And so like the fact that the haunt is entertainment, that the arcade, that the bowling is entertainment, that it's all just different kinds of entertainment, and the escape rooms, like I was interested in that idea. And the fact that we had access to all this stuff just blew my mind. And I think Steve was kind of surprised.
Yeah, it's
that
such
I incorporated
an unbelievable boon, right? Like when you start making your own stuff, like we were making shit and we're like, it is kind of weird that all these serial killers live in my weird suburban house decorated by my wife, right? Like this guy really likes Ross Dress for Less. It's so incredibly hard to find awesome, amazing locations. And they add so much value to a movie like this. It's such a unique experience going through that. So Tommy, how did you come aboard? And what were you thinking as you began to pursue this haunt season story?
Sure. Well, Jake and I originally met back on his web series, like 8-9 years ago. And like, it had been a while since we'd worked together. And I was like, I just happened to reach out to him. I was like, hey man, it's, I enjoy hanging out with you and watching movies, but it's been a minute. We should work on something again because we had such a blast. And he actually told me that he had something he was working on. He'd reach out in a couple months. So he did. And he asked me to come on as his AD. And then I read the script and I was like, dude, can I also audition for this?
Yeah, right.
I was like, this is amazing. And then he initially sent me the sides for Danny to audition for, which having already accepted the role of the assistant director stressed me out because I was like, how in the world am I going to be able to juggle being on set every day as both things? And I was like, but anyways, long story short, I ended up going in and he liked me for Walt and offered me the part of Walt and came in to do that and had a blast with it. So.
Nice. I guess my self-tape for Penis Freedom Fighter got lost in the mail. Bummer about that. No. Or it was
Dude,
just, you didn't even realize.
I thought that was going to be the hardest part to cast, and it was actually
that's the one everyone's like,
thing in the world. Yeah, like I was like,
I'm just saying, I wish you had the artistic bravery to cast a more portly man. To be the nudist.
Hey, buddy. All I'm saying is I was going to see all types.
That's all I'm saying.
Brent Bentley as Jace. He just had the correct amount of machismo mixed with kind of boyish charm and kind of naivety. He
slid right into that role. It felt comfortable immediately. Yeah.
And he's not that guy, but he is. No. He looks like that guy.
There's definitely a parallel universe where he is. That's how it felt watching it, right? I want to get to this. So a lot of low-budget horror filmmakers, right, gravitate to the slasher, right? It's kind of a tried and true formula. There's a lot of ways to make your dollar stretch, it feels like, in a slasher. I thought yours had a lot of very interesting elements that separate, because that's the thing, when everyone is making that movie, it becomes this herd of thumbnails. Yeah. Right, where it's like an ominous guy in like a fucking work jacket and shit, shadowy, right? Some like hot ladies in the front. You're like, all right, which of these am I going to pick? 'Cause they all look the same. Yours has these extra elements. How did you balance in the writing process, or was that even something you cared about? How to make your slasher stand out from all the other low budget slashers?
For me, it was just a matter of, so I'm a slasher guy. Mm-hmm. I love slasher movies, and I love movies set at Halloween season. So I've seen a bunch of the haunted house movies too. So like going into this, I was not like, well, he's got a haunted house. Let me just check out what these are about. I had already seen them. I love the Hell House LLC series. They're my favorite like found footage style horror movies. And then I also just slasher movies in general and Halloween movies in general. They're my favorite. Slashers are my favorite subgenre too. So I was like, okay, so what haven't I seen in these movies? I kind of just happened upon the idea that when I did the first kill scene, that she was scalped like her character was in the haunted house, and for real life scalped instead of the fake scalped. And I was like, well, that's actually kind of cool. I'll just kind of zero in on that idea. Like if they have an injury, their character in the haunt has an injury, let's make it real. Okay, that's fun. The killer marking his victims with blood ahead of time just so you can kind of see who's coming up, I thought was an interesting thing that I hadn't really seen before.
It got a little Michael Myers like Curse of the Thorn philosophy in there. I was like, nice. That was something that series just like gave us showed us the tip, and then it's like, but that's it. You'll never talk about it again.
Well, because people they hated it so much. Have you seen the producer's cut of Curse of Michael Myers?
Oh, absolutely. I fucking love the Halloween franchise, but it is a raggedy journey at times.
100%. They like the like the Akkads after it was all put together. They were like, "There's no way Michael can just be some pawn in this machine. We have to get rid of the Curse of the Thorn immediately." Like it was just a hard reset right away. But I love those movies too. Clearly, like, and I've said this on a couple other podcasts, but like our eventual killers like motivations are very kind of like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Colonel Cochrane. You know, it's
That's
like
right.
it's got that vibe to it. So I did not. I'm not claiming originality at any point here. I took pieces of the things that I love.
Yes.
And then in terms of the haunted house movie of it all, like usually it's only the people who are coming in as paying guests who are terrorized. Mm-hmm. And I thought like with my interests and being interested in like part-time creativity and things like that. Like I was more interested in the characters who worked the haunted house and have them be the people we hang out with for the majority of the movie instead of like the people coming in being like, "Oh no, this turns out to be real," you know?
Yeah. Well, I thought that behind the scenes look was really fun, right? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this about myself. I really like stories about strippers in the back of strip clubs, right? Like what they go through to get up on that stage. That's a weird thing I just inserted in the conversation, but this kind of tickled. Scratched that itch as well. I thought there was something cool. I like seeing the people behind the show, like what they look like as they're getting geared up, like where their mindsets are. The other thing this story had that I really latched onto at the end was as all the carnage is happening and how people are just so willing to overlook all of these obvious murders because they're there to get scared, right? They think it's just part of the extreme attraction. So there's so many moments where you're like, dude, fucking attack that guy. Run away. What are you doing? And it's like, they're just like, yeah, great. And you're like, that's probably exactly how it goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I that whole like pretend versus reality thing, it is well-trod territory. I just tried to do it with monologues I hadn't heard before, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The monologue can be the real foundation of all of these philosophies. Tommy, I got a question that I think we can start with you. So This is a big ensemble cast, right? For an indie horror film, right? There are a lot of fucking people on screen in this movie. How did you guys begin to tackle as a team how to lay that out, how to wrangle that many bodies at once while still taking care to, guide performance?
Sure. Well, I'll let Jake speak to performance, but like just in terms of like wrangling people and stuff, I mean, we just looked at, like the scheduling of everything, like when people are needed on certain sets and stuff, and just sort of try to use the same set, like back to back for a thing, like in day one and maybe here, day eight's over there. But if it's in the same location, then we just try to loop them all in on the same day. And then just like, just keeping the vibe like nice and chill. Like everybody got along. Like we were old friends and we just had a great time. It wasn't like we were like at work at all. We were just hanging out, having fun. So that definitely added a lot to it.
Because it felt like you guys had like well over 100 people visibly on screen throughout the movie. It felt huge. In my mind, drifted into that producer hat where you're like, man, it only takes one or two of those people to really just fucking grind things to a halt. I'm sure we've all experienced that person, but I was blown away by how big everything in the movie felt, including that cast. So, Jake, how did you try to, in the midst of all of this fucking chaos, hone in on what you wanted from the performers?
Yeah, it was super easy on my part, especially as the writer-director. I had an idea of what was important to me with each character. Mm-hmm. But then I also approach it like once they're cast, like once people have read for me a couple times and their vibe is consistent and they can perform on camera as well as off camera. And if their vibe is like somewhat similar to the character they're playing at the same time and they can deliver that action, then it's not hard to just like let them loose on it and then just kind of guide them back into place a little bit. And it was another one of my priorities where I was like, this, like you said, this is our first like opportunity to have a big feature, like an actual feature film that we raised a budget for, that we got distribution for, that we did the entire deal. And I was like, if I only get one shot at this, I've got all these great locations. I'd love to do something that doesn't feel like a couple of people in a room. I'd love to build out the cast and have like a whole bunch of different types of characters who would all be like part-time entertainment type people and all have that kind of objective. And so in real life, we are those people, you know, like we all are those people who are out there trying to be involved in projects. And the people who actually work at Realm of Terror Haunted House, the real haunted house we shot in, like I've hung out with them a bunch in the couple years since we've made this movie. They are exactly like us indie film people. Yeah. And so it was just a matter of transcribing what I know and love about like my world and friends onto like the spooky place. And it was very, very easy.
Right. So to get to that point too, right, about this is the shot, right? Don't make it feel small and quick and all that. There were some exceptionally cool kills in this movie. And one of the things that Heath and I learned very early on were like, horror movies are cheap. They're easy to shoot. This is going to be, I mean, this is the fast lane to success. And then you hit effects and you're like, oh, fuck, this is not always as easy to do or shoot or choreograph or cost way more than you want. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of tricks in that avenue that we found on our journey. How did you guys approach the effects process in this film?
Yeah, do you want to talk about Corey and Kyle, Tom?
Sure. Well, I'm not sure how you found them, but Jake brought in these incredible guys. Corey, oh my God, Gory Corey.
Yeah, Corey Ruby and Kyle Williamson.
Yeah, Corey Ruby and Kyle Williamson. And man, these dudes are great. Like they came in and with so much experience, and they did like so many cool like special effects makeup things for us, including like, you know, the arm gags and the head and like so many things. I don't want to get into spoilers, but like just a lot of fun things. And like it still blows me away, like watching the movie every time. And like I've seen some of their other work since then too, and it's just, man, it's incredible. Like it definitely added a whole other like layer of like kind of what you're talking about, just like the aesthetic of the movie. So
yeah.
But how did those shoot days feel compared to like dialogue shoot days?
Oh sure. I mean, they were a lot of fun, but there was a lot of
That's a very political assistant director answer.
My job here is done.
You're already a pro.
They honestly were a blast. But like there was a lot of with dialogue stuff, you know, you're waiting to get like the camera and the lights set up, and then you shoot, you do your thing. With a lot of the special effects stuff, it was a lot of, we would try to get coverage of other things where we could, but then we would like be waiting for, you know, a piece to be assembled and be ready to go. Like there's one thing that there's a couple things that literally took all day to prep, and then we kind of had like one go at it. So we made sure we rehearsed one particular gag. We rehearsed over and over and over, like probably 8, 12, 15, I don't know how many times now. I don't remember. I have it written down somewhere. But we rehearsed it so many times. We did dry rehearsals with multiple cameras set up, and then we're like, okay, here we go. And then luckily got it all in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even use the close-up in
just that
one.
Fingers crossed, like, please fucking work, please fucking work, please fucking work.
Yeah, and then when it did, it was glorious. Like
because
so
it takes so much time. Like Tommy said, like we would try to build in just a little bit of like other stuff we could be shooting on an adjacent set while they were doing the setup, because we'd film up to the gag with the actor, and then everybody out, Kyle and Corey in, start prepping, getting everything ready. And for a lot of those gags, like there are two kind of elaborate gags that happen with a chainsaw in the movie. Mm-hmm. And we shot that on what we called Chainsaw Weekend. So we had a coordinator come in who was ready to operate the chainsaw for that whole weekend, and we cut through one thing with the chainsaw, and then a whole other like upright wall situation with the chainsaw kind of happened, and both of those gags took at least half of a shoot day. And yes. We would lock it off. We would shoot the practical element, the part that they built to interact with the weapon for real. So you see really what a chainsaw will do to an actual physical item. And then after we mangled the hell out of that, everybody out, everybody don't touch the cameras. In comes the actor. And then I would just composite them with the physical element in After Effects, you know, just so that we would have the two things married together.
Beautiful.
And just to add like a fun bit of trivia to that too, like I don't think we planned this at all, but I believe, I don't remember if it started on this particular day, but Chainsaw Weekend was also Texas Chainsaw Massacre like anniversary.
Oh,
serendipity
nice.
From the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Another element of the movie I thought was really well done was you guys had a fucking rocking synth score
Yeah.
This is kind of a new thing, right? Synthwave is back in a big way, right? Lots of neons, lots of synthwave.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that something that you have always been a fan of, or is that something that felt just right for this project?
I've been a fan of it in the movies in which it, like, you know, took initial popularity, and then it went away for a little bit, and then I'm a big fan of Disaster Piece. I don't know if you are hip to. He did the It Follows score, and he did Under the Silver Lake. He's done a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't sound like that, but like the It Follows score and kind of the vaporwave stylings of like movies like The Guest, the Adam Wingard thing, like
Oh yeah,
that just really. You're next, you know, like they when they get into that like rhythmic do 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 do, it's just like, buddy, I'm in, you know, like,
Yeah.
like let's
it's
do
such
it.
a tightrope because sometimes that takes me out, right? Like I don't know if anachronistic's the right word, right? But it's like
Yeah.
it feels different sometimes, right? The style doesn't feel what you expect in the movie. I thought it fit so well in the haunted house setting. Right?
Thank
like
you.
it felt like you know, the start of one of those bungee balls they put people in and they pass out. Like that's what it felt like when the score kicked in. And I was like, fucking let's go. You know? I
So
was
like
ready.
I originally tried to do like a much more like quiet and suspenseful opening with
Yeah.
Taylor's death, kind of like a little bit more in the 90s teen slasher cycle
Yeah.
opening where you take your time, you meet a character you know is going to die in 10 minutes. And we shot it that way. I cut it that way. I started putting various things under it. I started having Rashid Thomas, our composer, put various things under it. And I was like, this is not our vibe.
Yeah.
This is not our vibe. And then I just cut it down and I was like, give me something, four on the floor, bump, 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 give me something synthy and let's go. And like as soon as I put that music under it and saw the sequence that way, I was like, we are a pizza party movie, man. We're a pizza
Yes.
party movie. Let's
That's
go.
that's what I describe my favorite genre as. Like you steal a little booze from your parents' alcohol cabinet. Someone found like half a joint in a trash can, and we're sneaking into the garage to watch movies that are above our maturity level. That's what we're
Absolutely.
looking for. That's the genre.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys, in producing this, right? When did you guys sign on and start working with Dread, and how was that experience?
I really enjoyed working with them. They so Epic Dread is the label underneath the company Epic Picture Group. They are really, really cool. They're really, really nice. We had a cut of the movie all put together. We were doing kind of the festival submission thing, and at that point, one of our producers, Jeremy Warner, was also like, you know, I have a couple of buddies who sold a movie to Hulu. Do you mind if I kick this their way? And I was like, oh no. He was like, can I send them the trailer and the poster? And it was like, yeah, see if somebody at Hulu
No,
wants to
I
buy
actually
us.
don't like money. I'm out.
And then he got back and he was like, they actually also rep movies and they want to talk to you. I was like, okay.
Even better.
And so we hopped on a call with them. They're called Throughline. And these guys were just so nice. They totally got what we were doing. They said, like, you guys have the most important things, a solid poster, a good trailer. Actually, they reworked our trailer, too. I had a version of the trailer that had too much gore in it and also too much foul language to be in Apple trailers, you know?
Right.
And then they just had their guy rework it. First trailer I've ever had that somebody else did, and I just really loved it. But
It's pretty incredible.
then as soon as we went out to people, Epic came back pretty quickly, and I had seen several movies that they put out. Nina Forever is one that I really, really love. Turbo Kid, I absolutely adore.
Oh yeah, I love Turbo Kid. Yeah.
Yeah, right? And of course, you know, Terrifier 1, and they've done a really good couple ones now. Double Blind is really, really awesome. Anyway, they got back to us. I was like, yeah, I love Dread. And you know what? If there's going to be a logo at the front of our movie, Dread's logo is sick.
That's a good one to have. Yeah. That's a good one to have.
And I knew that they also are one of the companies that are still doing physical. Like, even if you get a VOD release, you see a bunch of their titles do actually have that physical release, which I've still got my fingers crossed on.
They fucking better. They fucking better unless you want picket lines, brother.
All those elements together and just kind of hearing about how the deal works in terms of the distribution model and everything for the very first time. Like, I finally got to see how everything works when you get to the distribution phase of making a movie. I thought they were really, really great and generous partners with us. Like, the whole time, they kind of like were very good about helping guide us. And Throughline was also very good at helping, because Epic didn't know how much we knew about the process, and so Throughline would kind of guide us through as well. And having a couple of really, really kind and generous groups of people to guide us through the process was incredible.
It is something that isn't talked enough about, I feel like, in indie film community. A lot of us are talking about the stories and what they mean and how we get our gags and this and that, what vibe we're cultivating. It is like this very Wizard of Oz thing, like, and behind the curtain is all that shit you need to learn to make this a sustainable venture, right? And it is just so hard to get to that level, and it's so hard to prepare for that. So having that partnership, I can imagine, was just the best safety blanket.
It was invaluable. I mean, there's no way to, like, I am a big podcast listener. I love that we're on a podcast right now. Every podcast that we get to be on is just a pure pleasure, because I would just listen to podcasts all day, every day. But nobody talks about this stuff. Like, I keep looking for, like, distribution. Like, what do you need once you get distribution? And, like, you kind of start finding it a little bit here and there, but, like, you really got to go digging. And, like, I didn't know anything about errors and omissions insurance. I didn't know anything about, like, needing to get getting Spanish captions, getting how you have to deliver the audio in 2 separate 5.1 tracks and then 2 separate stereo tracks so that they can take out the dialogue. There's so many elements that are just undiscussed that I did a YouTube video about. Like, I actually chronicled on YouTube our entire process from the day we started looking for financing until we were sold. And I've just done the whole, there's like 5.5 hours of videos taking you through the entire process.
Where can people find that? I'm thinking that's a resource they might want.
Yeah, it's Jake Jarvi on YouTube. If you just search Jake Jarvi on YouTube, you'll find it. And there's a playlist called Making a Horror Movie, and like 4 videos from the end, like, is here's how you actually distribute a movie. And it just takes you through, like, what we learned, what the timetable of, like, us saying, yes, we want to go with you, through getting a lawyer, through all of the things that we had to do, through taking out the extra loan because deliverables still cost us about several grand more than we were anticipating.
Yes.
It takes you through the entire stage of what you're actually looking at.
Yeah. And I'm just going to break in here to say that anybody who's listening to this that has ambitions about making a film or planning to make a film, you have to watch this series that Jake did. It's invaluable. I think I've gone through every episode twice because, it is pulling back the curtain. And it is dense in a way that you just don't get that information from anyone else. And it was also relatable because it felt like you were learning it all for the first time too, so
I was.
Right. So I was seeing that process through almost someone's eyes that is in my boat, and that was refreshing and very educational and entertaining too. You guys are really fun.
Yeah. But I don't want to step on Heath's very exuberant plea there, but I watched them all 3 times. Not hugely important, but if we're gonna set those standards.
Well, guys, I've watched them 4 times. So
did I say 3? I meant 5. No, I'm just kidding. No. We gotta get that ad revenue up, people.
Well, here's another thing too. Like,
all right, if somebody out there has watched it 5 times, chime in. Jake will send you. No, I'm just kidding.
Right in the comments.
I will send you these 2 pigs fornicating from my desk.
There it is. I will piggyback on that though and say, like, that is definitely something that Jake has always been really good about, is like chronicling the process. Like, he did that all through Platoon and Power Squadron, and that's something that I've always like enjoyed as well. Like, as like in addition to like working with him, is just like watching the process from start to finish and seeing all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, it's just so super cool. It's so educational too.
Yeah, well, so many of us, you only learn that by being on set and stepping on your dick over and over and over. So any information that can help you get past that is just an absolute lifesaver.
Well, 2 things that are important to me about it is, one, I only did the updates. We did updates every week for 7 years on our YouTube channel between episodes of our web series because they took so fucking long to do. We were doing the visual effects by ourselves and everything. So it was like an episode a year. And so it was just every week I was talking to people, and the people who watched those videos are by and large the people who, after 4 years of basic radio silence on the YouTube channel because we had a kid, like, when I came back and I was like, we want to do this thing, it was those kids who had grown up watching our web series, got jobs, and were ready to roll the dice on us that like invested in the movie, on WeFunder. And it was because I was like, I will take you through this process. And I wanted to honor that idea. Like, I was like, you never get to see all of the steps. And here are all of the steps. And so they put money in, and I wanted to do it. And also, nobody other than the people who watch those videos, like, I get all the credit in the world for all this stuff. Nobody except for the people who watch those videos know how desperately important my wife / producer Eliza Tozer is to the entire making of these movies and these web series. It would be impossible without her. And only the people who see her involvement on those behind the scenes things knows how like desperately important she is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this actually is something I wanted to get to too. This is a good place to talk about it. Is I think one of the most important things when you're in the indie film space is that community building, right? So you were talking about it, just from your job, meeting people who have access to locations, finding your cast, to cultivating an audience through the web series that then people can follow your journey, and then they're more invested in you, right? So you guys are both Chicago natives, right? You're fixtures in the scene there. Talk about your journey trying to build into that and how being part of that community has helped you on your journey.
Tommy is the best at this. He is the guy who is the best at pounding the pavement, working on establishing relationships and getting projects up and running. This is exactly why he was one of the first people I called. I was like, Tommy, you got to be my AD, man, because I don't know anybody who works harder than you.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't like to sit still for very long. I think that's a big part of it.
That helps.
Someone actually, when they saw the movie, they texted me and was complimenting me as Walt and stuff. And they're like, man, I want to see you as more of this type of character. And they referred to it as golden retriever energy. And I was like, I started thinking about it. I was like, that's pretty real to life, because I feel like I'm constantly like, ooh, what's that shiny thing, And I don't know. It just doesn't ever shut off. So I think that is like a big part of that. But I also just love it so much. Like, if I don't know how to do something, I will figure it out. Like, it's just fun to me. I don't know. Like when I first started making things, big thanks to Jake for the motivation in a lot of ways. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to shoot a thing or edit a thing or anything. And I just started playing around with it and figuring it out. And I'm still, I think that's part of the whole process too, as like an actor, a filmmaker, is just like, it's a constant learning process, you know?
It is one of those, like, it's constantly just triage and problem solving. Very much like Air Bud, right? Air Bud didn't know how to play basketball, and then he went and helped this kid win a championship, dude. That's exactly how it is.
100%.
So what I'm hearing is I should do an Air Bud movie as Air Bud.
If we could get like a Freaky Friday where Air Bud becomes a boy and the boy becomes a dog, you could be the dog boy or the boy dog. That's the boy dog. That's what we're talking about.
Boy dog.
Air Bud makes an indie movie.
Yeah, greenlight it right now. You know where to send the checks.
Can we pull a line from Quantum Leap and just call it "Oh boy"?
Oh, dude, that's good. Should we wait? Is Quantum Leap canceled yet? Do they need writers? I don't know. I don't know how well that went. I think this is interesting too, as far as your evolution from the web series, as you guys were talking about, and content game and this and that, into feature film. What parts of that journey did you find were preparing you for this bigger step? Right, that community building. All of to your point, right? I don't know how to do anything. How do I learn this shit? What parts of that process do you hold dear to you now that you have taken this giant step so many of us are trying to take?
The big thing was like I loved so much of our community that we built, but like it was time to get a camera and lighting team that were professionals that I'd never worked with before. Before it was all friends and family type deal. Mm-hmm. And I love the way our stuff looks, but I knew we needed to just kind of take the next step, get the truck full of gear, get the people who knew how to do it.
The trucks is a real flag to the world that you've taken a step up.
Yeah. And and then also in terms of sound too, like we were always just like, who's ready to man the boom pole this weekend, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. It's the number one thing that people will you got to hand it off because it's so kind of tedious to do. But we found, so Alexander Lakin was our DP. He brought Gaffer. He brought the first AC team. I love all of them to death. They were so fun to have on set. Like Chris O'Malley was our Gaffer. David Keyser and JV Trammell were our assistant camera team, and they both kind of like took a time camera operating as well when we needed their help. And they were just so down to do it, and they were so invested in making it look as good as possible. Which, of course, that's the job, and they were just so amazing at it. And it was real. And Andrew Ford was their sound guy, and he was incredible. He was a one-man band. He did the boom. He mic'd everybody. He did all of the mixing on set himself. Everything was labeled perfectly when I got into post. I was like, Andrew.
That's an underrated element. That's an important fucking part of the process.
Yeah, dude, I was like, Andrew, I cannot. I've never seen anything like it, my man. And
well, to your point, right? When you come from friends and family, right? It's a real like MacGyver chewing gum scenario. Like, how do we just get through? What was that like to be on a set where you're like, oh, we're not just like trying to survive, but we actually have extra people here who have a dedicated role. So many of us have to always wear all the hats at the same fucking time. What was that like for you guys on this project?
It was a big relief. I mean, in terms of knowing that like someone really skilled was focusing all of their dedicated effort in this one particular area, was a big relief. But it was also a big leap in learning in terms of like expectations for amount of time in a day.
Setting the expectations. Yeah, absolutely.
And also because we were not the hugest budget movie ever, like we were like we had to in order to pay for like some of the bigger effects, we also had to kind of like find out who was willing to work at kind of like an adjusted rate as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to, once people are adjusting their rates for you, it's super important to me at least, to make sure that they feel some form of creative involvement in the process. And as soon as they feel creatively satisfied, and getting there actually was kind of a learning process. Sorry. I got to adjust my light.
Oh my God, the Velociraptors are here.
If I was just used to being like, camera here, here's the lens, point there, do this. And that was like not super what you're supposed to do when you're working with somebody who that is their area of expertise. And every alt Alex threw me was better than the suggestion I had. And he was very good about taking like what I needed for my layout in order to get through. And there are a lot of complicated, like long one take shots that he had to like manually operate the gimbal on. Like he put up with a lot, but in terms of like managing people's, making sure that they felt involved in the process is something that I never really had to do before. I usually just had to make sure that people had a good time and made sure that the day was happening fast. And that's what happens with friends.
That is a constant kind of thing that you see on set sometimes, where people are so focused on survival, right? We have to make our day. We have to get our thing. I do feel like that's one of those things that we don't talk about enough, right? Which is, if these people are coming to help you for free, what are they getting out of it, right? Yeah. Making sure that they feel invested, or they're learning a skill, or this is something cool that they can put out to help advance them in some way. I feel like that gets pushed aside a lot to just hit your day.
100%. And I feel like it's like, especially in Platoon of Power Squad, well, I don't know, Tommy, maybe you can talk a little bit more to this, but I feel like in Pops, when our lighting setups were very, very simple, like it was all about like flying through the day, making sure we got our shots, making sure people had kind of, making sure not to lose momentum, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was definitely much less knowledgeable about a lot of production stuff then, but I don't recall there ever being any like hiccups in anything. I just remember always showing up on Pops and just always having a good time. Like everything was always just such a blast, and like that was like early on for me with a lot of things, but like I was just there to like have a good time and absorb as much as possible, like just soak it all up. And then I think just like Yeah, it was a little bit more like bare bones, I guess, in terms of like crew and
Oh
production
yeah.
and stuff. But it was still always a good time. Like Jake always brings in a group of great people. But like, yeah, I still remember like walking on set for day one of haunt season, and before we ever, I don't even think everything was set up. I think we were still like unloading the van and stuff, and like there was just this energy about it that I was just like, oh, this is gonna be some cool shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it was. It was just this general vibe and energy of everybody, and it was just like you could just tell that it was going to be a fun time.
That's awesome.
And it was, but
Yeah, dude.
also in like indie like Friends production, like I was able to pack my shot lists, right? Because we'd set up the light and I would just be able to like angle, let's go, because none of it was going to look exceptional. It was all going to look okay. And by keeping on varying the angles, you're making it less boring to look at, you know? But when you have someone
Banner
that's really
Herzog
sculpting,
said that because we have digital cameras, we're all cowards now. He's
so
like,
yes,
don't shoot the coverage. We don't need 6,000 hours of the coverage. And I was
So
like, shut the fuck up, Werner Herzog. Actually, I love him, but you know, sometimes he just says shit. And it's like, hey man, we're not all working at that.
yeah, but it's also just like I think he longs for like know what you're actually going to put in the edit. Like that's what I think he means in terms of the coverage, because a lot of times you cover everything to death. And Alex also got pissed off at me. He was like, you start with a master, then you move into this. And I was like, that's not what we're doing here. I'm not going to use that master ever. Here's what we're going to do. We come in on the gimbal. We're going to get a couple overs here, and that is the scene. You know, like
It is the indie filmmaker constant fear is that you're going to miss something or not have that one shot that'll save your ass. Yeah. Which usually means you shoot a bunch of shit that you know you will not use, right? And it is like, how do you always balance those?
Yeah, our ratio is very, very thin. We didn't shoot a bunch that we didn't use. It's also just kind of the way that I've always done it. And it might be to the detriment of things. Like I said, when the international version has the uncut, completely naked version of the movie, the US, we had to crop all the nudity out of, and that is because I did not shoot singles of that scene. Like that is all one big oneer, that entire like naked scene in the locker room and in the lake house too. Like all of that is just punched in, and that's why all of a sudden it looks kind of like you're watching a cropped TNT version of a movie, which I kind of liked. I was like, yeah, we're on TNT, buddy. Like movies for guys that like movies. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So it just felt really, really good. But it was definitely, I would come in with shot lists. I never had to chop shot lists like this because we'd never set up lights like this before. And nothing's ever looked this good before, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things I wanted to hit on about Haunt, right? We've had a lot of people
Don't watch Haunt, by the way. Haunt is a great movie, but we're Haunt season.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I keep saying Haunt because it's in a haunted attraction. Haunt season. Yeah, fuck Haunt. No, I'm just kidding.
I love that movie. That's a good movie.
I love that movie too. I just like this kind of setting for a horror movie. I'm with you. It's just a fun Halloween season kind of thing. So Haunt season, how did you walk the balance between horror and comedy? We've had a lot of filmmakers on already that have dabbled in this world. And I think it's an infinitely fascinating topic to see how different writers approach it. Because again, I feel like one of the critiques I hear a lot about these, or that I have myself, is that the scares are always hampered by comedy, and the comedy is always hampered by, you know, someone getting carved up with a fucking electric knife, right? How did you walk that balance in this movie? Because yours does take a lot of time and sit with the characters outside of the extreme haunt, right? So how did you find that balance in the writing process between horror and comedy?
For me, I was just doing what I was interested in, and I love movies. I've thought a lot about this since people say this about the movie, and how like our movie likes its characters more than a lot of indie slashers do.
Yes.
And I just
they're not just disposable hot people.
Yeah, I mean, they're still very nice to look at, but you actually don't mind listening to them talk to each other, is at least how I felt about it. And I just wanted to, I like movies where the movie is having a lot of fun being the movie that it is, but that the characters are just being real to themselves. I don't want the characters to be in on the joke, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, even though our movie has this thumping synth score and it knows about the slashers that came before it, even though we're not like doing the here's what happens in a horror movie thing that like Scream, that I love so much that Scream does. but like it definitely feels like one of those, to me at least, it feels like one of those kind of meta movies that knows it's a slasher movie, but the characters don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the important
like
distinction to me.
Common refrain, right? If your characters are in on the joke, it's inherently less funny. My example is always Meet the Spartans. I don't know why. When I was working at Fox, I used to get free boxes of DVDs, and I would peel out what I wanted before I gave it to my boss, right? And I don't know why, but one day she's like, "You got to watch this movie. It's great." I left it in the box. It was Meet the Spartans.
Yeah.
The 60-some-year-old woman's like, "You're going to love this." And I was like, all right, cool. And I watched it and remember being like, I don't know what to make of this, what she thinks of me and my taste. Like, it's a real existential crisis. But that movie fucking sucks. No big deal. But it is one of those, if the characters know that they're just only in a comedy and they're winking at the camera the whole time and everyone's turning like, did you see that? Was that funny? And you're like, no, never. Right? Yeah. So I do think your point of they have to not realize they're in the journey that we realize they're in.
It's even like if you're in a heightened world and you see our characters acting in a heightened world in the haunted house. Yes. So they also have to drop out of their personas into real people outside of that backstage and at the party, at the lake house and all those at the escape room, like they have to just be normal people for their heightened personas then to make sense. But we just even name dropped Turbo Kid. Is there a more heightened world than Turbo Kid?
Yeah. Yeah,
like absolutely. none of those people know they are in a heightened world. They're just playing what their character would play in just those circumstances.
Razor straight nonsense.
Yeah,
those movies I always love.
Yeah. If the characters think that what they're doing is a joke, I'm less interested in it. 100% of the time. It's all about the character and how they perceive the world around them to me. And then the world can be having a great time. That's another one with The Guest. Right. Like the Guest is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 4 on Letterboxd. Those characters don't know they are in a genre mashup.
Yeah. Like they don't realize they're in a Universal Soldier sequel. That's just happening around them. Right?
Exactly. They don't know they're in Terminator meets Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
they are just doing
crossover that needs to happen immediately.
They're just doing their thing. I talked to Simon Barrett when he came and showed it in Chicago when he showed Your Next, and he was like, "That's my Uncle Buck. That movie's my Uncle Buck."
Here's a quarter. Yeah, that's fucking great, dude. Okay, so this is a great place to ask. We love to ask everyone who comes on the show. So I want both of your opinions. If budgets and resource were not a problem, right? Haunt season comes out and you guys are instantly billionaires, right? Instead of buying Twitter, what movie would you make or remake? What IP would you take and make your version of?
You got one, Tommy?
Mm-mm. I don't. That's a tough. Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is a selfish one. There's the very first short film that I made. I would like to go back and remake that, please.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's the money's no object, Tommy. That's the first thing you're gonna do.
I know.
You're gonna go back and do the monster short.
Yeah, man. It just it came out fine, but aesthetically, I was like, it's not what I saw when I wrote the thing, but it's fine. It's fun. Forward.
Forward.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh man, like an existing franchise.
Yeah, in the age where we are doing the franchises that we do, it'd be hard to not to say I'd want to do an actual Halloween Michael Myers movie because I love that franchise so much. But it's been done and redone so many times. Whenever they reset it, I don't know, 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to that's going to be a really tough job, and somebody's going to do great with it. But I think we've had enough time off from Elm Street that I'd really love to do an Elm Street.
That one being on the shelf for so long is because I always think the 3 that always kind of call out to me is I think Phantasm is ripe for a new age version, right? Like that's such a bizarre film. I think it'd be great. I think I would never remake, 'cause it's one of my favorites ever, but Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead is so good, dude. Pumpkinhead is so
flawless, good. But the sequels are so fucking brutally not good, right?
Yeah.
So if you could just do like a legacy reboot sequel of Pumpkinhead, I'd be into that. Or Event Horizon. Those are like the 3 that I always imagine.
Shit.
Like, what if you could get your hands on those? But
Event Horizon.
To the point, Tommy, you'd be surprised how many people we interview and they all say the same thing. They're like, fuck those movies. I want to make my shit. Like, that is a very common answer in the independent film community.
So we got
man,
a pitch.
It's that old story of just like, it was one of those things where I was wearing damn near every hat on the thing, and I think it suffered because of it in a way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But no, I don't know.
Painfully, I am aware of what you're saying.
Yeah. Not that like everyone involved in it didn't do a good job. It's just not what I envisioned, and I'm like, every now and then I'll rewatch it and I'll see things. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Well, especially now that you've seen the other side, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm still trying to think of a remake option, or I don't know.
Besides Air Bud, lock that in.
Jake said, like, those are big shoes, man. No matter what you go after, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I think what you say is actually the right answer, because if all of a sudden you have all of this money, the only way to make like original stories now is to get the money in yourself, you know?
Self-finance,
Because the tech conglomerates that own all of the studios are not going to they're not going to roll any dice, or the executives who have to justify their decisions are not going to roll any dice. Yeah. So they have to have the name, the cast, and a filmmaker that they can say, like, look, based on all of the previous global box offices, their averages adjust out to here. So this is not a big ask. It's the only way to get like a movie made. So you need the IP. You'd be like, look at all the money that this IP previously made. My job should be safe. So like, if you want to do something original on your own, this would be the time to do it. Now that we've got all these billions of haunt season money, I'm going to make my camp slasher.
Rich. Are you interested in buying a podcast? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, well, I was talking, me and he talk, it's the Red One conundrum, right? When you can almost see it like was put into like an algorithm to tell them what to make. Yeah. It's just like this soulless, like, fucking facade, but you're like, that's still fucking incredible because they have all the talent and money in the world. And you're like, fuck, if we had the budget for Red One, we could greenlight like 500 fucking movies. And it's like, I feel like that's a better financial strategy that just no one is doing.
I'm actually supposed to go see that tomorrow.
I mean, my kids fucking loved it, dude. Krampus comes in and gives it like a nice breath of fresh air. The Krampus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's got some surprising like horror undertones that aren't bad. My son and I both like shared our first like. I was like, yeah, what about that Sabrina the Teenage Witch? And my son goes, yeah, dude. And I was like, whoa, me and my son are chasing the same women now. What's up?
Karen Shipka's in that?
Yeah. She plays like the main bad guy of the movie, and it's
oh wow,
it's nice.
Now I'm interested. I'm interested.
Sabrina fan, so that was like a nice like. Okay, there's things in this movie I like.
Did you see Totally Killer?
Yeah, dude, love that movie.
That was
really
so
fun.
good.
She was in Longlegs. Like, she's really like getting into the horror community.
Her thing in Longlegs is so goddamn entertaining.
I fucking loved her, but I was like, why is she talking in Gungan? Right?
Yeah.
Misa don't know about the Longleg. And I was like, what the fuck is she doing? Let her talk.
But
here nor there.
But the wild thing is, dude, here's the wild thing. She talked like that. Nicolas Cage gave that performance. That movie goes between Instagram 4:3 and the widest thing you've ever seen. And it's slow, crazy as hell, and made $80 million at the box office.
Any low-budget horror film, that's what I root for. I want massive Skinamarink levels of success for all of us. Right? Like,
100%.
That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so on that note, you guys now have the first feature film. What is the next project? What kind of filmmaking journey are you hoping to start now, right? What's the next kind of thing? What are you guys working on building up?
What are you working on, Tommy?
Well, actually, I have like a handful of things that I have slated for next year. There's a couple shorts that are going to be filmed in like February, March. And then like late summer, I'm looking at a couple features, one of which I don't know how much I can really say about it, but I'm talking to the director about playing a very Bigfoot-like character.
Nice.
So
with a golden retriever-like coat of fur. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's man, I want to give you the tagline, but I don't think I can. I don't think I'm allowed.
Fair enough.
But
under the hat.
Like the dicks in your movie, we'll just crop it out, dude. We'll crop it out.
It's definitely going to be that like pizza hanging out in the garage with the half joint kind of movie. Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah. It's going to be a
more
good
of that
time.
in this world.
Then, I'm really excited about that one. And then I'm writing. Actually, just before we jumped on here, I was finishing up a writing session with a friend. We're writing a spin on like The Wizard of Oz, but as like an 80s horror movie kind of thing.
Nice.
So like that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Amazing,
buddy.
man.
Yeah. What you got going on, Jake?
Once again, speaking of my lovely wife and producer Eliza, we have a couple things that we would like to see done next. We are on like our third draft of we're holiday oriented people on our version of a holiday rom-com. Like we're kind of zeroing in on the places where if you make it independently, you'll be able to find an outlet for it eventually. That's what Haunt Season was. We also love these cheesy Hallmark rom-coms. Not so much the Hallmark ones, but more like the straight to streaming ones.
Yeah, Hot Frosty. Yeah.
Like Hot Frosty, but like that's a movie where the characters all think they're goofing off in the movie. Yeah. Like if they had played that straight, that would have been a much better. I watched and enjoyed Hot Frosty, but the characters just needed to ground themselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
But so we have our Christmas rom-com that we've been talking to people about that we might try to make happen, and then we also have, like I said, Eliza actually is the one who came up with a twist on a summer camp slasher that I've never ever heard before.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, yes, let's develop that one next. So we're kind of
so impressed with your pursuit of slashers. We wrote a slasher segment in ours, and I was like, I think it's mostly a slasher with like the weirdest extra thing in it, but it's not easy, man. So good on you for finding these avenues.
Well, I learned a lot on this one too, and I'd like to kind of actually put to practice some of the things that I think I could do better next time. I really love Haunt Season more than I was such a relief to find out how much I liked the movie we made. It could have gone any number of ways. And at the end of the day, I watched it. I was like, I really like this. The person I was scaredest about was showing it to Steve, the guy who owns the haunt, who also auditioned and ended up playing Bradford in the movie. Is Steve, the guy who owns the haunted house? He was great. Like, he sat down next to me and we watched this thing in my office right here, and I was in Isla Nublar, off the coast of Costa Rica.
Yeah, of course.
And
of course,
we right as soon as it was done, he turned to me and he goes, "It's weird, but I like it a lot." I was like, "Yay!"
And that's all you're hoping for, yeah.
I think we made a weird slasher that I like a lot. And I just think, like, now knowing what I know about the process and about kind of certain tone-setting things I'd like to try next time, I'd love another shot at it in another subgenre that I love within the subgenre of slashers.
Hell yeah. It's a big net, man. There's a lot of slasher subgenres in there. All right,
sure
so final
is.
question for you guys. If you could give aspiring filmmakers, right, guys like us, guys that listen to this, what piece of advice did you learn through your journey that you think is most helpful? Or is there a resource, a book, YouTube channel, something like that helped you on your journey that you think would be helpful for people kind of starting this process?
Yeah, two things. One, just learning from itself. Go in there with the attitude that you're going to lean on your departments as much as possible, and have super plan ahead, have your idea of how exactly you want the day to go, but then be ready to adjust when somebody comes to you with a better idea. And try not to micromanage if you don't have to. If after a couple days you realize that you have to, start micromanaging. I did not have to. But just get the right people in the room. Make sure you see the same movie ahead of time. It's one thing that Alex and I differ on, the DP again of Haunt Season. I didn't think to ask ahead of time if you're a center frame or a whole frame guy, and he sees things, he likes to funnel things into the center, and I like to kind of put things off the center a little bit. And so if you watch the movie, you kind of feel the battle between center and off center that entire movie. But it's like, it turned out, I think it still turned out beautifully. Like, his eye is really good and his light is insane. And so, like, just try to get everybody making the same movie.
That's a great piece of advice, yeah.
And as for a podcast, have you guys listened to the Team Deacons podcast?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It is
so
good.
There are other podcasts? Oh. Unbelievable. No one told me. No, I'm just kidding.
Team Deacons.
Jake's other podcast.
No. Don't listen to that. Team Deacons podcast is Roger Deakins, the DP,
just the
and
fucking
his wife.
grandmaster of all.
Yeah. And they sit down with industry professionals, above the line and below the line people, some of the below the line people. And even they talked to this lady who worked in film developing and then moved over into like digital color correction and all of that. Like you learn so much about people who are working at the highest levels, and not just about what they do, which is also interesting to know, but what their expectations are in collaborators. And that is invaluable.
Yeah, that's a really important thing that we do not focus enough on, is just making sure everyone is making the same fucking movie.
Word. Word, bro.
A constant problem in this world. All right, what advice or resources, Tommy, do you think would help a young aspiring filmmaker?
Sure. Well, somewhat similar to what Jake said. I think just get on set, help people out with projects, whatever role they need you in. Be a PA, be an AC, be an AD if you can. Like do whatever you can. Do background work. Like just get on set and just like listen and be open to collaboration. Don't be an asshole.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one. You're going to spend a lot of time with people. If you show them you're an asshole, you will not be around.
Oh my God. Yeah, just be nice and have fun. Like this isn't, we're not performance surgery here. We're just making a movie. Like have fun. But like,
yeah,
just I had another point too, and I just lost it. But like, just get out there and have fun and like, oh, I know what it was. Like appreciate your people. Treat each other like with respect, and like you're all there for the same purpose to make this movie or whatever. Like just because you're the producer or whatever your role is, it doesn't, whatever. Like that doesn't mean that you are like a better person or something. Like you're all equals. Like treat each other well and appreciate your people and what they're there doing for you. And that
if someone is taking time out of their life to fucking come help you make your vanity project, don't be a dickhead. That is such again, these are all things you guys are reiterating that should be more commonly seen that often aren't. I think that's great advice.
No, this is man. Like I especially at our level and our budget level, like as the writer, director, producer, editor, VFX compositor, I raised the money for this thing. I put the people together, and then I was the first person in every day. I helped them unload the truck to get them to work faster. At the end of the day, I helped them wrap and get back into the truck at the end of the day to get them off the clock I was paying for. And then after everybody cast and crew were gone, I walked around, I cleaned up the location, I put all the trash away, I brought the trash to the dumpster. I needed to protect our relationships with everybody working for us and the relationships with the location. I wanted to make sure I was doing my part for everybody.
Yeah.
And that is like, because you're not at the top of the food chain as an indie filmmaker who brought everybody together. You owe them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a good way to think of it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it over to you. What do you got, Heath?
I had a whole bullet point list here of different things that I wanted to hit and go back and circle around, but you guys pretty much did it all the way through. So I've just been crossing out my notes. It was a really, I think, great conversation, especially for anybody who is a filmmaker, wants to be a filmmaker. A lot of fun insider stuff, but not too in the weeds to where it's inaccessible. For that, go back and watch Jake's series on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right.
More times than me.
5 is the number, people. 5 times 3.
5, yeah. You're not a real filmmaker until you've watched it 5 times. We're trying to get you monetized, Jake. If you're not
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, well, my main note here is just shout out to the guest, which is, I agree, it's rising in the ranks over time. And I think if you watch the guest and you watch Haunt Season, there are plenty of parallels and the influences there. So hopefully you're okay with that.
Oh no, 100%. It was in my lookbook. It was if I was gonna try to make my one movie this way, like The Guest was a North Star that I was just gonna be very proud to have forever.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's there. That's all I have.
All right, so to finish this up, would you guys like to tell everyone where they can find you online and follow you guys as you take your next steps? I know you'll be billionaires soon. I don't know if you'll quit social media or whatever or buy it. But where are you at now on the internet?
Instagram is my main one, Jenks37 on there. I was not thinking a whole lot. Or YouTube, of course, Jake Jarvi on YouTube. And if you just Google Jake Jarvi, it's all there. But please, instead of Googling Jake Jarvi, Google Haunt Season.
Haunt Season.
Look and get it off the VODs. It's everywhere for rental or purchase. And I really appreciate it. And also, thank you so much for having us. This was absolutely the most fun one of these I've done.
Oh, this was a blast, man, for sure. Tommy, where can everyone find you online as well?
Yeah, I'm also primarily on Instagram at actor Tommy Martin. You can also find my website and find me through there, which is actortommymartin.com. And I agree, this has been an absolute blast. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Oh, you guys made it easy for us. We wish you all the luck with Haunt Season. You can find me at Uncast Penis Out Guy on Instagram. If you're interested in my continuing journey trying to free the fat body. Other than that, we'll see you guys Friday for another Messed Up Movies podcast.